Any dynamic industry should be represented by a body that will act as a mouthpiece for all the players in that field. That body also serves as a liaison bridge between the state and all the interested parties, and also serves as a platform of communication between all the members of that particular industry. SANSOR is such a body and represents the South African seed industry as an association of all interested role players. Formed in 1989, SANSOR not only represents the seed industry both locally and internationally, but also protects and boosts the interests of the seed trade to the benefit of its members.
Prior to 1989, there existed 3 seed organizations in South Africa. These 3 organizations were fiercely independent, guarded their own territory to the extent that it was actually quite unhelpful. And enlightened members of those 3 organizations decided to form an umbrella body, the Association of National Seed Organizations, to try and help us to recognize what the important aspects of the seed trade were, where we could work together and to try and get rid of some of the unhelpful competition. And finally, when the government decided to place the seed certification seed into the private sector, that gave the cement to bring all the work that had been achieved over 6 years by SANSOR to fruition in the birth of SANSOR.
The first years of SANSOR was very much marked by the establishment of SANSOR as a seed organization. And during those times it entailed working a lot with developing systems, developing administration, doing a lot of things to get the seed industry organized. It was also during this time that the African Seed Trade Association was established in 1999, and it was in 2000 that we had the inaugural meeting of AFSTA in Pretoria, and shortly after that in 2001 we had the first ISF meeting in South Africa. At that stage it was still called FIS. It was just shortly after that that the board of directors looked at it and said, you know, now is the time for change. And the drive was changed to focus on getting SANSOR more into the open area, creating opportunities for South African seedsmen, members of SANSOR, to be able to more freely and fairly participate in international trade. A significant change came about around 2012 when we appointed Dr. Lukeshni Chetty as the manager of SANSOR. That very much contributed to changing the involvement of SANSOR and the South African seed industry around the world.
The mandate that was given to me was to make SANSOR more visible. And the way I approached that was to ensure our visibility at various international congresses and meetings and various national meetings. We prioritized the attendance of meetings, we prioritized our interaction with the South African government, and we also prioritized member visits. At that time, I tried to visit almost every single member, and we tried to do it every 2 to 3 years.
Of course, all of this contributed largely to gaining more recognition for SANSOR and also the South African seed industry around the world. This also culminated in many more trading transactions, importing and exporting of seed into and out of South Africa. But of course, this was only possible if we could manage to create trust and if we could manage to convince our customers on the seed sales and on the seed production side that intellectual property right in South Africa would be protected at all times, plant breeders' rights would be protected at all times, and we are still working diligently to ensure that we can achieve these goals continuously and make it easy for people to do business with South Africa.
SANSOR has over 124 members, all of which enjoy several benefits such as consultation and training in line with national and international standards. Also, it protects the intellectual property of its members.
The main benefit of being a SANSOR member is collaboration. One gets to collaborate with various stakeholders that include the government, that include other seed companies, basically the whole food value chain. This collaboration leads to lowering of technical trade barriers. We've got different SANSOR committees that include the Phytosanitary Committee, Standing Committee, the Biotech and Innovation Committee. These committees encourage or foster an environment that is conducive for trade. They facilitate imports and exports within Africa and globally, and also create a conducive environment for investment in biotechnology.
From the get-go, we consulted SANSOR, met Lukeshni and her team, and got all the advice we possibly could in terms of certification, the phytosanitary requirements for exports, and that gave us a level of comfort for us to focus on our sales and marketing and expansion into Africa, knowing that any hiccups that we came upon, we would have Lukeshni and her team behind us to advise us where necessary.
For the seed industry going forward, I think as the world becomes more and more complex and movement of seed from different parts of the world, I think intellectual property protection becomes more and more important, and I think an organization like SANSOR can play a pivotal role as the go-to person, or at least the liaison with the relevant authorities to make sure that South Africa remains an attractive place to do business.
SANSOR's role in the seed industry is not only to promote the producing of good quality seed, but also to promote plant breeding innovation. With global warming as a challenge, the seed industry needs to adapt in order to sustain and contribute to food security.
Plant breeding innovation involves the use of different kind of techniques such as genome editing techniques. It's a new field of science, and it's developing or advancing at a very fast rate. Regulations are not able to keep up. And if regulations don't keep up, we have a possibility that we can end up in a situation where we end up with policies that are restrictive for further investment in this space.
SANSOR needs to take a leading role with government in developing the regulation and policy around that. Products of plant breeding innovation are going to be at our doorstep, and we need to be able to ensure uninterrupted trade. Climate change is right here, right now, and seed companies have to be on the ball when it comes to breeding new varieties. Access to food, access to quality seed will continue to be the order of the day with these added burdens.